Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Okay, so I was sent a very brief video clip of Trevor Bryan. Trevor Bryan is currently the WBA regular world heavyweight champion, and we'll get into the absolute ludicrous boxing politics as to how that even happened in a minute. But within this 30-second video clip of Trevor Bryan, while he doesn't mention Dillian Whyte's name or anything, if you look at the hashtags underneath it, again, a link to this in the description box. You don't have to be on Instagram to be able to watch it. You can still watch it. But he's hashtagging UK fans or England and bits and bobs like that. So quite clearly, he's responded to Dillian Whyte, who Dillian Whyte, after he knocked out Alexander Povetkin, said, I wouldn't mind an easier fight against Trevor Bryan. I'll go over there, I'll beat him up, I'll knock him smooth out, I'll take that regular world heavyweight title. I will then give that belt, finally, after several years, some credibility. Trevor Bryan responds, laughing, you're going to do what? You're going to do what? I told you when I'm on top, ain't nobody going to knock me off, all that kind of thing. Well, first things first, Trevor, you're not on top. You don't currently hold a legitimate world title. Now, officially, it is a world title. Officially, he is world champion. Okay? Officially. I know fans don't really buy into it. But the reason why fans don't buy into it is because, firstly, there's a super champion in Anthony Joshua. But secondly, because the WBA regular belt has been through so many loops, it's unreal. The last time anybody worthy really held that belt would be either David Haye and maybe Alexander Povetkin. Since then, what's happened with that belt? What's happened with it? Ruslan Chagaev, okay, he picked it up. It is what it is. That was okay. Lucas Browne knocked out Ruslan Chagaev. Lucas Browne then gets stripped of the belt due to some PED discrepancies. Okay, I'm not going to go through all that kind of thing. But then eventually they awarded Lucas Browne, after he provided some kind of proof about the PED situation, they awarded him an opportunity to win back that belt, which of course was currently up in the air. It was vacant. They were talking about him taking on Frez Oquendo. Frez Oquendo, who every time he's ever stepped up, has got beaten from pillar to post. Frez Oquendo, who's currently 165 years old. Frez Oquendo, who hasn't had a fight since he lost to Ruslan Chagaev. How many years ago now? He hasn't had a fight. But somehow he seems to have some kind of hold over the WBA. Exactly what the politics are, I don't really know. I don't really care, to be honest with you. But for whatever reason, Lucas Browne, Frez Oquendo, that didn't happen. Then Shannon Briggs, he gets an opportunity. Shannon Briggs, he fails a PED test. Then you get other people thrown into the mix. Trevor Bryan, he could be fighting. But then he's not going to be fighting. And then it gets offered around like a hot potato. Eventually, it comes around that it's going to be Manuel Chark, where he came from in this equation, I have no idea. And then Alexander Ustinov, where he came from in this equation, I have no idea. Them two fight for the vacant WBA regular world heavyweight title. Manuel Chark gets to win. He holds on to that belt for 2 years. Didn't defend it one time. Now, back in, I think it was January, I forget exactly what date, in Florida, Manuel Chark was supposed to defend that belt against Trevor Bryan. And for whatever reason, the things that we're hearing, the stories that we're hearing, that he had his visa sabotaged. All kinds of politics and this, that, and the other, that he couldn't go over to Florida to defend that belt. Some people say that Frez Oquendo, again, his name's being brought up, that he had something to do with this. But ultimately what happened is the WBA stripped Manuel Chark and put it on the line for Trevor Bryan. Trevor Bryan, who has not had a fight in, 2 years himself, or close to? When his best win on his resume is, off the top of my head, was what, BJ Flores? Maybe? That's a little bit worrying, isn't it? But either way, he's fighting for a vacant WBA regular world heavyweight title. And guess who his opponent is? Bermane Stiverne. A guy who's lost, 4 of his last 5 fights or something like that? Including his last fight against Joe Joyce. Bermane Stiverne is garbage. He's always been garbage. Always has been. Always will be. But somehow he gets an opportunity to fight Trevor Bryan for a regular world heavyweight title. Why is that? Because it's a Don King show. Both of these guys are Don King fighters. Don King has a very good relationship with the WBA. This is boxing politics all over it. So, of course, Trevor Bryan, of course, he's going to be Bermane Stiverne. And it's worrying when your best win now is Bermane Stiverne. So you can sit there and laugh, Pudding Boy, and say how Dillian Whyte ain't going to do this. You ain't going to fight Dillian Whyte. That's the truth of it. You ain't going to do it. There'll be something going on behind the scenes where Don King won't allow it, the WBA won't allow it, and Trevor Bryan knows that they ain't going to allow it. So you can sit there, you can laugh, you can say you can do what, I'm on top, yada, yada, yada. You are not a credible champion. In order to make that WBA regular world heavyweight title credible, it needs to be defended against some of the best heavyweights around. But that hasn't happened with that belt for a long, long time, probably 7 or 8 years now. That hasn't happened. Trevor Bryan ain't about to change that. He ain't going to go in there with Dillian Whyte, with Alexander Usyk. He ain't going to get in there with anybody. What Trevor Bryan and Don King will want to do is fight Anthony Joshua. Why? Payout. That's why. Even though him fighting Dillian Whyte is going to be earning life-changing money. He will get paid very, very well. But he ain't going to do it because he doesn't want to get paid very, very well against Dillian Whyte, a guy who will knock him smooth out. He wants to get paid exceptionally well so he can go and buy multiple houses by fighting Anthony Joshua. That's what he wants. Is that going to happen? Are the WBA going to order that? Probably at some point, because again, they'll do Don King a bit of a favour. So Trevor Bryan laughing, and you're a joke. You're an absolute joke. So far, your career has been a joke. You have picked up a joke belt. If you want to put some credibility behind that belt and be seen as a legitimate world champion, you do need to defend that belt against a Dillian Whyte. You do need to do that. But he ain't going to do that at all. He's going to be fighting other journeymen. I'll give you an example as to how bad Trevor Bryan versus Bermane Stiverne is. Imagine that with Dillian Whyte, okay, he's the WBC interim champion. And when I spoke to him yesterday, I don't know, I'm not going to be getting some spoiling. I spoke to Dillian Whyte yesterday, but it is true. But I said to him, your belt, your WBC interim belt, is more valuable than the WBA regular belt. But the reason why it is because if anything was to happen with Tyson Fury, currently the full WBC champion, vacate the belt, get stripped of the belt, whatever it may be, that belt doesn't just become vacant and Dillian gets to fight somebody for it. No. The interim champion becomes the full champion automatically. So that is a very, very important position for Dillian Whyte to be in. Very important. With the WBA regular belt, that ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Currently, it's not a ticket stub. It's not anything. You can't cash it in. There's nothing really you can do other than fight Dillian Whyte. Trevor Bryan ain't fighting Dillian Whyte for love nor money. He ain't doing it. If he does, big up, big up. And for me, I think Trevor Bryan is actually a very good fighter, but he ain't proving it, and he ain't gonna prove it, and that's the end of it. So you can laugh at Dillian Whyte's claims and this, that, and the other. Laugh all you want, but you ain't willing to back it up. You ain't willing to do it. And that's the truth of it. In my opinion, I think the WBA regular world heavyweight title needs somebody of credibility to hold that belt. Dillian Whyte, Alexander Usyk, and so forth. It ain't going to happen. Trevor Bryan is going to hold that belt like a baby under protection for the longest time. Laugh all you want, Pudding Boy. You ain't fighting Dillian Whyte. You ain't going to do it. Personally, I think Eddie Hearn should at least put in the offer. But we know boxing politics will get in the way. Either Eddie Hearn, he won't even do it, or he'll come up with some kind of excuses as to why. Why? Because as far as the boxing world is concerned, unfortunately, Dillian Whyte versus Trevor Bryan is not a mega fight. But it is because Dillian Whyte's a pay-per-view fighter. Doesn't really matter who he fights, people will click that red button and watch Dillian Whyte fight. If they could do it as some form of unification, fantastic, ideal, right? But are the WBC and the WBA going to agree to it? Probably not. Most notably, probably the WBA not going to agree with it. even though they could do something, whereas the winner, which I believe will be strongly Dillian Whyte, will hold some kind of key to unlock, maybe take on the winner of Fury and Joshua. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see how things pan out. But right now, I really want to hold my breath for it. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.